Okay, I think I'll just start sharing my screen. Maybe you'd let me know, Catherine, that's visible okay?
Yeah, that's perfect, Emma.
Great, I think we will make a start. So welcome everyone to our SenseHub Academy training. Thank you very much for joining. I know it's a busy time of the year and the weather is not ideal at the moment. Hopefully you're finishing off calving and getting ready for the breeding season. So just to give you an introduction to what we're going to be covering today, we're going to firstly play a quick video by Catherine Heffernan. And then Catherine is going to give a quick demo on our demo site, just as a refresher maybe for some of you, or maybe your new customers, and just to give you a bit of insight into how the system works. And then we have Joe Healy, a dairy farmer who has recently installed SenseHub on the webinar with us today. So Catherine's going to ask Joe a few questions, and Joe, I'll let you introduce yourself when we come to that session. So thanks everyone for joining us. Just to give you a bit of an introduction to our team. So we have 4 sales reps covering the whole of Ireland, and you've probably recognised some of these faces. John Loughlin covers the northern half or the north of the country. Christy McGurk covers the Midlands to the west and even up to Donegal. Ciara Phelan covers the southeast, and then Billy Heffernan covers the south of the country. I'm sure some of these have been in touch with you and you recognize them, and if you need any more help over the next few days, they're willing and there to assist. Just in terms of our technical team, John Graham covers the north, Shane Nolan covers the Midlands to the west, and then Catherine Heffernan, who's on the call with us today, covers the south of the country. So just in terms of the SenseHub Academy training series, on Tuesday we had a refresher, which was really for established SenseHub customers, and it covered a lot around maintenance as well of the system, just to get it up and going, ready for the breeding season. This session is on reproduction, and it will cover just the key aspects of the reproduction aspect of SenseHub, and just getting to know and getting to grips with the reports and all the different aspects that SenseHub has to offer in terms of reproduction. We'll also have a health module at a later stage, and we'll keep you in the loop of when that is available as well. So just in terms of our expanding portfolio, so it's not just restricted to collars and drafting gates. We also have SenseHub SMAC cell count sensors. And what this is essentially a SMAC cell count test. So within 2 minutes of starting milking, you will get an indication of what that cow's SMAC cell count is via one of these owl lights. So they'll flash a different color based on what range that cow is falling into in terms of SMAC cell count. We also have our SenseHub SE milk flow meters, which you can see in this image here, this silver box. And what this measures is butterfat, protein, conductivity, lactose, and also milk yield. And we have 3 pilot farms, one in Cavan, one in Limerick, and also one in Kilkenny, which is on the fully connected version. And what this is the milk flow meters, the SMAC cell count sensors, the SenseHub collars, and also the drafting gate is all connected in the one version, and it all is feeding into the cloud. So with that, I will pass over to Catherine.
Thanks very much, Emma. As Emma mentioned, my name is Catherine Heffernan. I'm Customer and Technical Support Manager with MSD Animal Health Intelligence. So I'm covering the south of this country with technical support when people install their systems and the backup from there on. So as Emma mentioned, we're going to play a short video which brings you through a bit on the reproduction module on the phone app more so, and then I'm going to go through it in a little bit more detail on the computer version of SenseHub. and then we're going to hear from Joe. And just to remember that the question box is open at all times, so please ask any questions throughout and we'll answer those at the end of today's session. So we'll start up this video now, and I will be back to talk to you shortly.
This is the introduction to the SenseHub reproduction module. Welcome to the SenseHub Academy on Farm Training. My name is Catherine Heffernan and I'm Customer and Technical Support Manager with MSD Animal Health Livestock Intelligence. Typically when an animal is in heat, the rumination drops, her eating changes and her activity spikes. That's what causes an animal to come into the animal in heat list. Firstly, I'm going to speak about animals in heat and the most relevant reproduction reports. So firstly, when you open the app, you press the animals in heat on your home screen. This then takes you to the list of animals that are in heat at this particular time. Firstly, we look at the heat index. So the heat index ranges from 50 to 100. The closer the animal is to 100, the higher the chance she's in heat. There are a number of factors that influence this heat index. Those which include rumination, eating, activity, and the status of this cow. So whether or not this cow has had a cycle already post-calving or not, and how many days it has been since she has had a previous heat. So all of this influences the heat index. So once I'm comfortable and happy that the heat index is close to 100, most of these heat indexes are going to be up in the 90s come breeding season, I then move to selecting the time of heat. If I press the coloured graphs here in the right hand corner of each heat, this takes me to the breeding window. The breeding window guides the end user the optimum time for AI. The top line is the sex semen window and the bottom line is the conventional semen window. As you can see here, we have a 30-hour window, hour 26 to hour -4. The black triangle within this breeding window is this specific cow's time for AI. This moves along as this cow's cycle moves. So as we can see here, there are 4 hours left for this animal, and this animal is optimum time for sex semen. The top window, we see the green, which is optimum time for sex semen, and on the bottom we see the green, which is optimum time for conventional semen. When applying collars on day 1, we sync our system with ICBF. This then pulls the animal's herd basic profile into SenseHub. The status of your cow within SenseHub is very important to ensure the accuracy of the system. Once an animal is inseminated, this can be recorded in your herd management app or on your inseminator's handheld. Once this is synced to ICBF, SenseHub calls out to ICBF twice a day, 12 midday and midnight, and this information then comes into SenseHub to mark the animal as inseminated. Next, I'm going to discuss the most relevant reports within SenseHub ahead of your breeding season. So firstly, we have the anestrus cows. I have it here on the home screen. So once I tap in here, I have 26 animals in here. The anestrus report is a report which identifies animals which haven't cycled. So once an animal is calved, 50 days thereafter she's calved, she will appear in this list if she hasn't cycled. If a cow has had a cycle already, it will be there after 30 days. As we see here in this list, there are a number of animals over that 50 days since their last heat. These are the cows which should be presented to your vet to be scanned and treated. Once the animal cycles again, she will leave this list, so you manually don't have to put anything in to manage this. If an animal has had a cycle at day 20, for example, it will be there after 30 days that she would appear in this list. The animals within this list should be presented to your vet in order to establish the best approach for these animals. This gives these animals the best chance of coming into the first round AI and getting back into the system as fast as possible. We recommend taking a look at this anestrus list throughout your breeding season to ensure that all animals are cycling. For example, this anestrus cow report has 26 cows. This 26 cows represents 10% of the overall herd. This is typical to have this number of animals in this report for a herd this size. Now we're going to take a look at the irregular heat report. It's not on my home screen here, but if you press the menu bar in the left-hand corner and we enter into reports, if you swipe left, you can add this as a favourite by pressing the star. Irregular heats, I don't have any regular heats in this specific example, but irregular heats are animals that have had 3 or more heats within 30 days. We recommend that you present these animals to your vet for treatment if they appear in here. Once the cycles settle down, these animals will then leave this list. Next, I'm going to talk about pregnancy probability. This is a nice report to look into once you are over 21 days into the breeding season. It shows you just how you're getting on. So if you press the menu bar in the left-hand corner and enter into reports, you can see pregnancy probability. When an animal is under 21 days inseminated, her probability will be low. When she's over 27 days, her probability will be medium. And any animal over 60 days inseminated will be high probability. But in order to get the list of animals that have already had cycles, on the desktop version you press the farmhouse, you press events, and within here this is all events that have happened in your SenseHub system. You press name, you can filter by name, and here we have all the animals that have had heats, the dates, and the actual heat index for each of these animals. If you wish to export them, you press more actions, print, export to CSV, and that will send it to an Excel sheet where you can add and edit accordingly.
Okay, so that video takes us through the areas of reproduction within SenseHub. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to focus in on a few of those points a little bit more on the desktop version, and I'll also show you how to access the desktop version on your computers if you wish. So I'm going to share my screen here now, and we'll look through that. Okay, Emma, are you able to see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so in order to access SenseHub on your computer, we see here up on the top in the search bar, it's https://st.scrdeary.com. So ignore what's there at the end, and Emma might share that. We can share that in the chat function maybe with you. So if you want to access it, you punch that in. Your username will be your email address. Your password will be as set up on day one, and the same. Your EU number is individual to your farm. So these are normally shared with you at the time of install. You can do most of the functions on your phone, on your phone app. But some people prefer to just access it on their computer if they have it in the office. So you don't have to come on the computer version, but it is available if you wish. So I'll just recap a little bit on, I suppose, what are the most important, really most important things at this moment in time ahead of the breeding season and as people start to breed. So I mentioned the heat index. So we see here, we have a list of the heat index, and we can see these animals are generally in the high 90s. We've one animal there which is 66. So the higher the animal is to 100, the higher the chance the animal is in heat. This ranges from 50 to 100. My rule of thumb is anything over 85, I wouldn't think twice about AIing. I would be happy to say move on to the breeding window and pick the exact timing for that animal. But anything under 85, what I recommend doing is tap into the animal. Like, for example, we have this cow here, 567. For example, if you click on her number on your phone or on your phone or on your computer, in the right-hand corner on the phone app, there are 3 dots and three lines, and you can populate this graph more by adding in the rumination, eating activity for visibility. And on your phone, you zoom in to this graph, zoom in and out of this graph like a picture. In this example, on the desktop, what we do is you use the days here in the left-hand corner. So I'll zoom into 15 days. And we can see here, this would be a typical example that the cow was in this morning, say, for example, for milking, and she's now gone out to the field again. So what we see here, and you heard me speak about it in the video, is we see the rumination. So in purple is rumination here. The orange one, and you can see on the top as I move my mouse, you can see these numbers changing. The orange one is activity. The green line is your eating. So I always think green is grass, green is eating. And then the blue one is a calculation of all of this plus when the cow had a last insemination. So we can actually see this particular cow had an insemination 23 days ago. So all of this is taken into consideration, and that this is what all of this is what's driving the heat index outside. So if for example this animal had a heat index of 80, I would tap into this cow, as I did, tap into her graph, takes me in here, and really what I'm looking for is I'm looking for that increase in activity, so that increase in the orange. And if I know there has been no big change in management on the farm, obviously there's a lot of change happening on farms at the moment because cows are in and out, so you might actually see some of your heats slightly lower, but this is how to observe it. Tap into the graph, have a look, and see is there that heat rising in activity, and that would confirm my decision as to AI the cow or not. So again, that's anything over 85. I wouldn't even go into the graph. I'd be very confident. Anything under 85, I just tap in and make my own call on it. Generally, you're going to be seeing probably 2%, if roughly 2% or a little bit more of animals that are under the 85. So it's not something you're going to have to do for every cow. Once I'm confident then with my heat index, this takes me then to the breeding window. So we can see here this animal is 63 days in milk. There's a sperm symbol beside her because she has already been AI'd. If I tap here on this magnifying glass, it takes me into the breeding window. Similarly on your phone, if you tap the colored graph, you're able to expand this similar to this. So as discussed already, just in terms of sex semen, it seems to be getting a lot more popular, a lot more people are using it. So just to kind of emphasize on this a little bit more, your top bar here is sex semen window, your bottom bar is your conventional window. The black triangle is where that cow is within her individual cycle. So normally, and it's totally normal to see cows jumping in the field and not be in this list, because it's after they hit their peak activity is when they're actually going to come in here. So for example, this cow 567, she's actually ideal for sex semen because she's hitting the green. Obviously with sex semen, you're a lot more focused on timing, is a lot more important. In the bottom bar, we see conventional. Some people are AIing once a day. You're not always going to get that black triangle into the conventional bar in the green. Green is a guide, of course. But if AIing once a day and that black triangle is here at hour 25, or if it's anywhere even within the second yellow, it's still okay to AI. But with sex semen, you obviously really want to try get that green bar. If the black triangle is hitting the orange on this conventional, you can, if the cow hasn't had a straw, absolutely still AI her. Just I wouldn't be giving her my best straw in the tank. But if she hasn't had anything, your chances are just slightly more reduced at that stage. So once that cow has been AI'd, depending on what you're doing, if you're doing DIY, if you're doing DIY AI, once you mark the animal as inseminated into your herd app, and then it goes into ICBF or into ICBF, it will then sync in here twice. It'll look for the information twice a day, so that's 12 midday or midnight. This then marks the animal as AI'd. It doesn't get her off this list, but on your phone there is a little sperm symbol up at the top of the graph, and you can tap that, and that will take out any animals that are AI'd or under the number of days set in the system, for animals under, say, for example, 30 days that aren't calved more than 30 days, that will filter those out for you. If you see an error, a red error come up on your screen that says no herd management sync, don't worry. That just means, some people are seeing that at the moment, it just means that when SenseHub has called out to ICBF for new information, that there is no new information. And that information being a calf registration, an animal sale, or a breeding event. So most people have all their cows calved or near calved at the moment and they're finished registering calves. So therefore there's not that consistent new amount of data coming in from ICBF. So don't worry, the system is still working, everything's working fine, and the data is still flowing. So then just to touch quickly then again on the reproduction to access your reports. So you saw how I access those on my phone. If you want to, you can put the star on these, and that's what adds them to favorites. And as we were in the anestrus cows, so this report is constantly updating itself along the way. So your collars would need to be on more than 30 days plus since the cow calved for this report to start populating. So if you've only just put your collars on, don't worry, this isn't going to have kicked into play just yet, but it will shortly. And don't forget as well that it does take up to 7 days for a collar to be on an animal and the animal be in signal every day within the 24 hours in the day, for a collar to calibrate for breeding. It's 4 days for health, but just in case you're swapping collars from heifers to cows, or sorry, cows to heifers, or you're changing collars within the herd, just ensure that you're giving it enough time before you want to start breeding. So as well, your anestrus report will just keep an eye in there throughout the breeding season, and keep an eye on this throughout the breeding season, and get these animals treated accordingly in advance. But it's a nice way to get these animals back in the system fast. And you know, a lot of people will be only starting to pre-breed now, and these animals will have been presented in advance. The other thing I just recommend watching out for those who have the system installed and are ready to go for AI, is your system maintenance. So just keep an eye on this. So in this demo example we have here, two tags that are not on animals. So if in this example, how it knows these collars aren't on the animal is because the collar is in signal of the reader, but it's not actually, it's not moving. So therefore it's possibly on the ground somewhere, or it could be hanging up in a shed. The other things you may see in here are a collar unassigned on animal. And normally what that means is that there's an animal collar, the collar's gone on an animal and the animal is moving out there, but it doesn't know what animal it's on. So that in that case, it would have meant that there might have a collar went on and the save button wasn't pressed. So how you can figure that out is if you have a drafting gate, you can sort according to tag maintenance. But if you don't have a drafting gate, I recommend you go into and this is here in this computer, you press the farmhouse, but on your mobile phone, you press the animal list. And I recommend just scrolling down through the animals. You can see their flex tag. So that's their collar number. And you can see, you'll see the animal's ID over here. So I just recommend that you scroll down, see the animals that don't have collars, and maybe you'll know the ones who should. Take down their number, draft them out, get the collar number, and you can then assign the collar as you did on day one. So that's what will be in the tag maintenance. Just keep an eye on it, and just remember that animals need to come into signal once within the 24 hours to drop off their information. So if you do have heifers that are maybe if they're on the milking platform, that they are brought to signal and held in signal for about 15 minutes once in the day to ensure that their information is being dropped off. So I suppose they're really the most important things to watch out for at the moment, ahead of the breeding season and throughout. So I'm sure the numbers of animals in heat are ticking up every day. As Emma said, we'll focus on health later in the year. We'll have a more focused health module later in the year, which we'll share with everybody as well. So what I'm going to do at this stage is I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to invite Joe Healy to join us and have a little bit of a discussion with him. And as I said, the chat bar is available there if you want to ask any questions, and we'll hear from Joe. So Joe's has recently installed SenseHub on his farm, and I'm going to ask Joe just a few questions, kind of common questions, and questions that for those maybe who have just installed SenseHub or thinking of it or waiting for grants, the questions that they might have. So Joe, would you like to introduce yourself to us?
Yeah, thanks, Catherine. Yeah, as Catherine says, my name is Joe Healy. I'm farming outside Athboy in County Meath. We're milking about 100 cows, give or take. We've got, we're all spring calving system. So like most people out there, we're heading into a busy time of the year, finding cows on heat and all this crack to get serving them. We recently installed the SenseHub collars. It's about a month ago we installed them, so we've a good bit of information there already coming in. About a week or 10 days ago, I decided about 2 weeks ago I decided that we'd actually stick collars on heifers as well. So what I did there was we left maybe the last few cows, the calf. We removed the collars off the last few cows, the calf, because realistically they won't be served for another 40 or 50 days. And I actually got another 10 collars. So the 23 heifers that are for sale for service there, we have the collars on them, the last of which the collars went on about a week ago, and the first bit of information is just coming through on them. So like I always had kind of a problem catching the heifers on heat. We'd be trying to go, the last few years we tried to go with sex semen on the heifers, purely because you'd be hoping the heifers would have a better chance of conception first time with the sex semen. So, but like we had poor enough results with fixed time AI. It cost a small fortune to synchronize the heifer. So, like the kind of sense the sense that we were making of it was that if we were to invest in the collars for the heifers, we could be saving like it was nearly €1,000 to synchronize 30 odd heifers last year between double shots of estromet, shots of receptal and cedars. So like over the 7-year or whatever life term of the collars, like that'll we'll be saving that on it. But look at it, I'm really looking forward to this breeding season now, because like it's going to be effortless as far as heat detection goes. Like other years we would have kind of been very very hands-on looking at them. Like I don't tail paint. I've never tail painted. Like I just I put a lot of effort into observation. So they would have been observed at obviously both milking times, bringing them in from milking. I'd go down in the middle of the day to check them for 20 minutes, and I'd go down last thing at night before, when it was just getting dusk, just to check them again. And that 10 o'clock, it's very hard to drag yourself off the couch to go down and check cows for heat. So this year now with the collars, I'm just really looking forward to it. Now it's going to be effortless now, to be honest. Yeah.
Super. And Joe, did you do pre-breeding recording yourself in the past then as well?
Yeah. We have the Herd app app there on the phone, and just anytime we'd see a cow on heat, we'd stick the number in, and that. So like we'd be kind of like we'd know when to be expecting animals on heat and all that kind of crack. But now this is just bringing it to a whole new level as far as convenience. Like obviously, like as I say, like in particular with the heifers, we will get it very hard. You'd see the messing going on, and then you stand watching them there for 10 minutes, and be very hard to pinpoint what's on heat. Like we have the heifers inside. We leave the heifers in until they get the first service, and then they go straight away off with the bull. So like I just like what we'll do now is when they get, as soon as they're put into the crush for the first service, the collar will be removed off them heifers and assigned to the cow that's the longest calved without a collar. But that's like they'll be heading off to a bull to an out farm, so they won't be within range of the reader anyway.
Super. Okay.
Yeah.
And Joe, you mentioned that you have SenseHub in a month. So I said there's people on this call, I suppose, considering waiting on grants, etc. So like, can you tell us a little bit about the process and what you needed to provide us in order to get the system to work?
Yeah, well, the process, like, look, the guy I was dealing with was great to deal with. Like he just laid it out straight what had to be done. He got the guy that was going to be installing it. He got him to contact us the way, like, there was no middleman. We were talking directly to the guy who was involved in the installation. And basically, like, the farmyard, the house up at the farmyard, my parents' house, like, there's no Wi-Fi in that. So we were told we needed to get Wi-Fi. So my own house is maybe 200-300 meters away. So the guy that was doing the install, he was saying that he could actually put a bridge between our house and the yard to bounce the Wi-Fi down to the yard to facilitate operating the system. So look, he came and he did it in one day. Like, it was effortless. I had to just cut one branch off one tree to get a clear view for the signal for the Wi-Fi. But look, it was effortless really. Now, like, and I have to say one thing about the guy that did install it. Like health and safety on his end was second to none. He came with a kind of a boom lift. Like a cherry picker, so like there was no messing on ladders, like, because you'd always be afraid of guys coming in maybe on ladders that could take a fall in the yard and that, you know. But like, there was never a question of health and safety with this guy. It was great. Now,
good to hear. And Joe, how did you find putting the collars on? Was it a big process? Did you think it was harder than or easier?
Like putting the collars on was very easy. Like, and I was talking to guys in the kind of run up to like when I was deciding what kind of system I was going to go for, and like some of the older collars from years ago, like maybe different brands or whatever, like, I don't know, they were a different material, and there was guys saying that they're very hard to change in this, but these ones they're like very easy to change. Like as I say, when I decided I'd put them on the heifers, I drafted out whatever the last 6 or 8 cows that had the collars on them, the last 6 or 8 to calve that had collars on them, and I took them collars off effortlessly and popped them on the heifers, you know. And now, so when the heifers are served again, pop them off and throw them on the cows again. Like, it's, you know, I thought it was going to be harder to do now, but it's effortless now. You know, just like, all you need is one of the person there. Like, I didn't even put them through the head gate. I done them from the side of the crush, just my dad was able to keep the cows pushed back the way that they weren't running up and down the crush, and like, it was very convenient now, very convenient.
Good, because I think some people do worry that it is like, it's going to be difficult, and it is.
Well, like, I'll be straight with you. I did hear that you know, it was an effort with the collars, but like, guys afterwards were telling me that the older collars were stiff and hard to manage, and that, and like, when I contacted SenseHub first about the system, I was initially planning on going with the tags, but look, I was like talked out of that, and I was glad I was, because now I can see the reality is that the new collars are like very easy to deal with now, very easy to operate.
Good. And Joe, we were chatting a little bit before the call about, like, obviously breeding season is coming up, and you mentioned that you're going to use a lot of sex semen. So are you, like, how are you selecting your cows out on your farm for sex semen, and how will you bring that and use SenseHub then to back that information?
Well, look, just as you were showing there earlier, like the breeding windows, there's 2 breeding windows there on it. So like, obviously when I'm AIing cows now to the sex semen, I'd be watching that top one for the sex semen, and look, at selecting me cows, I'll be going for the best cows, like, not necessarily the early ones. Like the intention is to have all my breeding, my Friesian, the Holstein Friesian serves done within the first 3 weeks. That's the intention. So like I have my cows picked out that I want to breed. Ideally, I want to breed to Holstein Friesian to get replacements of, along with the heifers. All the heifers will be bred, and then like we've 100 cows, 23 heifers. I've bought 50 straws of sex semen. Look at it. If I get 50-60% conception, I'd be happy enough with that. So look at, I'll be watching for them good cows to come on heat. Like, it won't take much watching, because I just keep an eye on the phone.
Yeah.
And, then as well as that, like, I do my own AI, so I can be flexible enough with the insemination time. I'll be going by the little arrow and aiming for the green spot. And
yeah, that's it. Because I was going to ask you that. Are you on once or twice in the day?
I lay eye when that green spot tells me.
You'll be in the shed all day.
Yeah, no, there always was a question in my mind before, like that's like, because I was hearing like over the last couple of years that you're probably better off leaving them a little bit later when you're eyeing them for sex semen. Like that's evidence it's very evident from the two breeding windows, like the one for sex semen, the green area, and that is a little bit later. But like there was always that question in your head, were you eyeing this lassie a bit too early, were you in a bit late? And like I'm thinking, right, she was on this morning. Now she might have been still on, but it was in my head she was on this morning. And then the next morning, kind of thing, she was still a bit on, if you know what I mean. Like she had a strong heat. So I ended up like, or that night I should say, she was still on. So the next morning I ended up having to stick another straw on. Like, and that happened on a couple of occasions. And with sex semen at run at €50 or so a straw, you wouldn't want that to be happening too often, you know.
No. Yeah, no, it's an interesting one. Like, you know, I suppose when you are observing cows, it is the challenge. Is it her first jump? Is it her last jump? And what you will see yourself, and I seen it myself, where cows are presented for sex semen where there are no collars, and it's very interesting to see the comparable. But what we actually would see is if a cow is jumping this morning, it's actually tomorrow morning she's in that green for sex semen. But again, the challenge is because you don't know, I guess, you don't know where she is in that green bar.
Like and traditionally here it was always a case of if you see her this morning, you AI her this evening. If you see her this evening, you AI her in the morning. But like I've seen that now in the last couple of weeks. I've seen that on the program on the phone there. That generally, if you see her this morning, it is, as you say, it's nearly the next morning before she's ready for the sex semen. So like,
and do you have many cows, Joe, now in the list? Have you seen a lot of cows coming in the list recently?
Today, I just opened it up here now, Catherine. Today, there's 6 on heat. Now, I was just saying it to you there before we took the call. There's one lassie on it there that I one of my favourite cows that I did not see head nor tail of her on heat. And I woke up this morning, and maybe the first thing I do in the morning is fire up SenseHub on the phone and see what the crack is waiting for me in the yard. But I saw this cow on heat on the phone this morning, 4796, and I says, like, sometimes, like, generally, because the weather's been so bad, the cows are in like a lot of the time now, like they're in by night anyway, and you'd see a lot of activity in the shed or whatever, and like within a couple of hours it'd be up on the phone telling you she is on heat. But this lassie, I saw nothing of her, and I was saying, oh, Jesus, is this right? So she came into the parlour this morning. I just climbed up and had a look at her rump, and true as God, she's skint, like, you know, and like I see her heat index is down as 81, and you were saying in that little article there, anything above 85, no bother, below it. But like, she is 81, and as I say, she was skint. She was on heat. There's no question. Like,
and that could be as well because, as I said, you were saying they're in and out, and a lot of cows are in and out at the moment. And that's why, you know, you might see some of those cows slightly lower, but that's why it's important to just tap in, have a look. And then if you're still maybe a little unsure, if you do look, you'll generally see something. So it'll all add up.
Like, look at, like, we're I suppose, like, anybody that's listening to this, you'll see it yourself when you're a month in and you're getting this information. You're always going to be checking to see, is it right? You know, and I have to say, like, every time, like, I was saying it to the guy, to Chris, the guy we bought it off, the last time he was out about 2 weeks ago. We had a cow that was very unwell. When she was actually sick on the day that the collars were put on her. And about a fortnight later, I got notification to say she was on heat. And now, like, she was starting to come on the mend at that stage. And I says, like, I saw nothing of her. And I went out and looked at her, and her rump wasn't rubbed or anything. But later that evening, I looked at her again. She was lying in the cubicle, and there was clear slime streaming out of her. So, like, that, she had a silent heat of some sort. As far as I'm concerned, like, she had been on heat, because like you could see the clear slime coming out of her, and like you know, the like of that would have absolutely gone unnoticed had it not been for the collars. You know, it's just like, information is king. You're getting that so much information on the cows with the like of that system. You know. Look, as I say, looking forward to this breeding season. It's going to be effortless.
Good. Joe, thanks very much. And thanks for your honesty and everything. It's, look, you know yourself what it's like when you have something at the start or you're considering something. It's always great to hear from someone who's kind of been through it and heading into their season. So we wish you the best.
Thanks very
much. What I'll do now is there's a couple of questions here, and Joe, you have alluded to some of these. But I might just take you back in on a couple of these. I might answer a few of these myself, and then I'll bring you in on any of these that are kind of relevant. So it's a question here on how important is it to read cows in the field, and how long does it take to upload the data to the phone? So the collar holds the information for 24 hours. So the cows don't have to be in signal at all time. They just have to come into signal once in that 24 hours. So if you're milking cows once a day, they need to come in within that 24 hours. Or it's the same with heifers, if they just must come in once in the 24 hours. But for those who are milking twice a day, once cows are coming into the yard, the information's coming straight away. So in terms of upload speed of the data, when the cows are gone out of signal, when they're gone to the field and they're not being read by the reader, the system looks every single minute. It's like, where are the cows? Basically, where are you? Where are you? And once they come back into signal, the information is as good as instant at that stage. So there's never that, like, you don't need to worry about the upload speed of cows coming onto your phone, or the cows still coming on your phone once you're still in the milking parlour. It's pretty instant. So there's no fear to work on that, to be worried about that. How do you assign a collar and put it on? So basically, I mentioned this in the video at the start. We're linked with ICBF, so therefore at the day of install, we suck in the herd, and then we search the cow within the system, and we can scan the back of the collar onto your phone, and that scans it into the system. So therefore there's no double jobbing, there's no manual work or manual typing of details from the end user into any system. A question here, so does SenseHub pick up silent heats? So Joe gave a good example there of his cow in terms of silent heat. I suppose just onto that and how that works is SenseHub it's machine learning, so it's learning in every individual animal every day. So it's learning each animal all the time. And I suppose, what is a silent heat? Like, a silent heat for us is just something we don't see. So in Joe's example there, that cow was, rumination would have changed, eating changed, activity still changed, but we just didn't see it. And Joe, maybe with that cow that you saw, you might give, if you remember what you saw in the graph when you did look at her. Did she have a change she would have had a change, but what change did you see? Do you remember?
Yeah, like she a slight increase in activity, because like obviously it was silent heat, but like a rumination was down a bit, and like the graphs kind of where everything was going level. Activity went a little bit above, and the other two went a little bit away from it, and it just left that little gap in it. And I don't know, maybe that's how it picked it up or that, but I found it was fascinating that it, like, in general, when you look at a cow that has a mad heat, like the one graph goes that way and the other goes down. Like, the rumination and eating goes like way down, activity goes way up. Like this one, it wasn't just as extreme. I can't remember what our heat index was, because at that stage I hadn't the system in that long, and I hadn't had the little bit of a course to the learning, the training event or whatever. But like you could see there was a definite divergence in the graphs. Like I'm presuming that's just whatever way the algorithm reads it, like it's defined as being on heat. But like, I found it fascinating. Like, I went out, like I thought, I genuinely thought to myself, nah, that's wrong. But then when I saw the clear slime coming from the cow, like, it's, like I would have AI'd a cow, like, like if it didn't have this system, if I saw that clear slime, I would have AI'd her 12 hours later. Probably wouldn't have went with sex semen now, but I would have AI'd or like stuck a beef bull in, or just like, I'd say, like, I would have says, yeah, I think she's on heat, stick a cheap straw in or take a chance. But like when the phone lined up with seeing the clear slime coming from her, like it's amazing. Like and the cow, as I say, she had been very sick in the last couple of weeks. She had no right to even show a heat. You know, she like I was absolutely surprised because she like, you know, she just didn't take off after calving. Now thank God she's 100% right now, but like this was a couple of weeks ago, and look at it's a great tool to have there, just to give you that information. Like just going back to what you were saying about putting the collars on, like program them in. Like I actually had the young lad on the phone. Like while I was like we program in one collar, I was putting the collar on the cow. He'd be reading the next cow's tag, inputting it into the phone, scanning the collar, and like we banged on. Like Christy put on 10 collars with me, one box of the collars when he was the first day when he was showing me how to put them on. Like myself and the young lad and my father put on the 80 collars in about 3 hours. Like just bang through it all. It's
that's the beauty of it too, is like this, once you have that collar scanned, the data starts. So it's not like you need to put the collar on and then you're left to go and do a heap of manual work at your computer to activate them or anything. So it is it's convenient in that sense.
And like you were saying about it takes a week or so for information to come through. Like within a day or two, you can actually see the graph starting to the graph for is it activity graph?
Your rumination, all of those start nearly instantly.
You can actually see the graphs on the little screen starting to build up. But it's a week or so after that you'll actually the system will actually start giving you information, reading them graphs and that. But that's fascinating to see it. Yeah.
Great, good. Okay, I have 2 other questions here. So do you still? Is it too late to install SenseHub, or do you have collars in stock for this season? So yeah, absolutely, we have collars in stock for this season. It's never too late. As I said, 7 days, and you'll have collars need to be on for 7 days, and you can start AIing. There's no issue that way. So if anybody is interested, feel free to get in touch. And finally, then I'll take this as the last question, and Joe spoke a little bit about it already, was will SenseHub work on heifers, and what if they're on an out farm? So yeah, SenseHub will work on heifers exactly the same as cows. No, there's no difference whatsoever. And if your heifers are on your main platform, that's fine, or they just need to come into Signal once in that 24 hours to drop off their data. If they're on an out farm, there's we have a couple of options. If an out farm has electricity, if it has electricity there, you'll have to have internet on that farm. We provide an additional antenna, and that antenna will talk back to the main farm and will be all on the one app. For example, it doesn't matter how far you are away. No joke, you could be in a different country. For example, we've one farmer in Kilkenny. His heifers are reared in Galway, and he has one app, and the heifers are on it and the cows are on it. So you can once you have electricity at that point, you can do that. Or if you don't have electricity, or if it's a heifer rear that you're not sure you're going to be with in the future or whatever, we have a solar panel option as well, where the solar panel powers the same antenna that would be on the roof if there was electricity at that point, and that information is fed back then to the same app which you have on your home farm if you wish. So that's there's a solution there, I suppose for all. So with that, I know the sun is shining outside, and I suppose after the last 2 days everybody's raring to get out. So firstly, I'd like to thank Joe for joining and being so honest with his experience, and maybe we might hear from Joe again later in the year to hear how he got on with his year, his breeding season. And look, I really appreciate your time, and thanks to everybody for coming on. I know things are very busy at the moment, and I wish you all a very successful breeding season, and stay in touch if you have any questions. Myself and the team are more than happy to facilitate where we can. So thanks very much, and we'll talk again soon.
Best of luck, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.